welcome back to Success Mashup Radio, and I've got Karla Tewes, interior designer of Tewes Design. And Karla's been in the design business, working in fashion and interiors for over 20 years. She's worked in London, Europe, and beyond for the design houses Donna Karan, Calvin Klein, before really going out on her own. Pretty cool stuff there. So more recently, she moved to Seattle, and in her short time here, she's made a name for herself, having been featured in Seattle Homes and Lifestyles magazines numerous times, Gray magazines, and on the daily blogs for thehouse.com. And Karla's passion really is adding excitement and new energy to her clients' home through color, texture, and streamlined design. All right, Karla, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very cool. So you've been doing this for a long time, and you've traveled the world, and sounds like you've done some pretty cool stuff with Donna Karan and Calvin Klein. And I see you moved to New York City and basically spent 8 years traveling abroad for them. I guess, first of all, tell me what how that was and kind of what that did for your design experience and why you got into design in the first place.
Sure. The travel portion of it offered me the experience. I used to live overseas for about 3 months out of every year, working for both of those companies. And I did a lot of travel in the meantime, met a lot of different people, and was able to experience a lot of different cultures. And I took a lot of inspiration from that, and I apply that to my designs on a pretty regular basis. So I was pretty profoundly influenced by what I've seen and the cultures and just the design from Italy, all over the world. So,
okay, very, very cool. So, what inspired you to get into design and becoming an interior designer too? What inspired you to get into that business and go out on your own?
I firmly believe that people's homes are a direct reflection of their style, and
there you go. Sure. There you go. Perfect.
People's homes are a direct reflection of their style, and so I think it was kind of a natural progression to go from, I spent the 8 years working for those companies, and I just longed to do something on my own. And so I decided, I was in New York, I went back to school, I studied design, and I started working for a prominent New York architect. And I was designing high-end residential projects, and I just loved it. And one day I got the opportunity to take on my own project, and my design firm just kind of grew from there out of referrals. I got one project, and that parlayed into another, and Tewes Design was born, and here I am, okay. 20 years later. So.
Very, very cool. Okay, yeah. So when it comes to some of your clients, what are some of the biggest frustrations people have when it comes to starting a project or doing a remodel or any type of design? What are some of the biggest frustrations your clients have, really?
So I think TV has a lot of people watch HGTV and shows where design projects happen overnight, from start to finish. Yeah. And the reality of it is that a project can't happen that fast, that these TV shows have a team of people from, carpenters and plumbers and electricians, and a real project doesn't, you don't have furniture sitting in a warehouse ready to deliver the next day. So 24 hours is not
right.
It's not going to work. And when you kind of go through the reality of how long a project takes and all the decisions that have to be made to get from point A to Z, I think people find it a little overwhelming and frustrating, and it's just a very, people underestimate the amount of time it takes to do things like that. So I think it's...
Okay, so what about those of people that decide, I've got a good eye for this, I want to kind of do it myself, and then they go out and they want to maybe save some money, or maybe they're passionate about it. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people make when it comes to designing, interior design in general, I guess? Or just the project, I mean,
we get called a lot of times in the middle. Someone starts something, or you get called in and someone says, oh, my husband and I tried to do it ourselves, and this is what we ended up with. And we just couldn't decide on anything together. We couldn't decide on which direction or what sofa to buy, or they have a bathroom that's completely gutted, and, something happened with the contractor. And so we get called in to kind of play cleanup crew sometimes. the ideal is when people realize the reality that we can save them time and money. A lot of people, again, they don't realize how much time it takes. And, all of a sudden they realize that they're sitting at work and they're having to go through a website of, 40,000 plumbing fixtures to try to find a faucet. And, what we can do is take the wide spectrum of things that are available and pare it down and we basically curate, so to speak, a project for them. And we say, well, here's 4 options of what your style is. The key is for someone to define their style first. And so we try, when we start working with a new client, to help someone define their style and figure out what they want. And if it's a husband and a wife or, whoever it is, you have to kind of find some happy medium so that we can kind of...
Yeah, and so you're kind of basically getting rid of some of the clutter. So somebody that starts like me, for me, I'd be so overwhelmed I wouldn't know where to start, and it'd be hard for me to find kind of my style. So you kind of help people find that by narrowing it down, just getting some category kind of.
And people sometimes say, "Oh, I want to come shop with you. I want to do that with you," and we go and do it, and then they walk in and go, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what to pick."
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's like you help them. Yeah, I totally get it. It's very, very cool. And so kind of like I was talking with Bella in the last segment about the weight lifted off people's shoulders. I bet you when they actually, after they hire somebody like you, and then you guys get started and they're like, oh my goodness, now I don't have to decide on all these little things.
Right.
And now they're just basically the decision maker. You're like, let's do this, this, or this. And they can just decide, I like this the best. It's kind of like, you know, right. Very cool. So much easier. So now they can be like the boss instead of the person trying to start from the beginning. Okay. So, I guess walk me through the process of what happens when we start an interior design project, I guess.
Sure. The main thing for my firm is that my clients and I are a good fit. That's the key. And if there's not a good fit, then there can't be a good working relationship, and then you can't really have a successful project. So that's the first. I mean, that can somewhat be determined on the phone, and then I like to have that determined face-to-face. From that point on, I kind of give a standard list of questions. And with that standard list, it's asking a client to kind of delve into how they live in their house, how they live in their space, or how they want to live in their space, what they want it to look like, to try to define what their style is. And it's for us to be able to determine, okay, do they really know what their style is? Do they really know what they want? You know, for instance, someone will say that they're super casual, but then yet they'll say, oh, but my dog's not allowed on the furniture and my kids can't put their feet up on the ottoman, you know. So it's trying to help people kind of tailor what they want so that we have a clear starting point that we can actually, you know, make decisions that are going to be right decisions from the start. Then we define the scope of the work, and then we go from there.
Okay, very, very cool. So what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when hiring a designer in general? Like if they
I think the biggest mistake is not to hire a designer.
There you go.
A lot of people think, oh, I can't hire a designer because it's too expensive.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you know, how much is your time worth?
Exactly.
It's worth a lot. And when you realize the amount of time that you have to put in or that we are putting in for you to make all those decisions, it kind of justifies, you know, the fees for a designer or for an event planner for that matter. You know, it takes the stress off and it allows us, we know what we're doing. We do it every day. And so we have the resources. We know the tradespeople. You're not going to mess around with a painter who, you know, did a bad job, or, you know, your wallpaper hanger who did a terrible job that, you know, who knows where you found them. So we've kind of gone through all those trials and tribulations, and we can come in and do it right the first time. The sofa's going to fit. You know, you can be guaranteed all of those things, whereas if you do it yourself, you're not necessarily guaranteed that.
Yeah, and it's funny, I talk about productivity sometimes and finding that, you know, 3-hour block where you're the most productive throughout the day. For me, it's the first thing in the morning. You know, getting everything out of your head on paper that's you know, in your subconscious mind and making you not be as productive, and then, you know, getting the priorities going. And it's funny, when you are using that time effectively, you're so much more productive. But if you're sitting here trying to plan a project like this, then what else is getting affected? What else on your work side? What else on your family side? There's just no possible way, especially when you understand, you probably, and Bella, who's on the last segment, understands the psychology of of stuff that's in your head
Sure.
that you might not even realize you're thinking of because it's on your to-do list, And so hiring a designer, I think, is a lot more valuable than just the whole outcome of having a beautiful house, right? To my opinion, I think just getting that off your, getting that weight lifted off your shoulders and having somebody good, better than you, take over and get it done right.
Well, another thing that we can do too is see, and I think this would go for events, interiors, anything like that. We see everything as a whole, and when people try to do it themselves, they go, room or part of a room by part of a room, and they don't see the whole picture. So, if they're designing the living room and in the future they want to design the dining room, and we know that, then we can, design it properly so that if they want to phase it out, they can phase it out. But so it's seeing the project as a whole, which a lot of people don't have the ability to do.
Gotcha. Okay. So if somebody was interested, how do they get a hold of you?
We have a website, and it has a portfolio of our work and contact information and some client comments about us. And
Very
so
cool.
that's tewesdesign.com.
Okay, so it's TEWES design.com. So Tewes, TEWES design.com. And then I've got your phone number here too. It's 917-373-7094. So definitely get a hold of Karla if you want to have a, knock dead home when somebody walks into it, right? Great experience.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah,
We're going to have to go to break. And in the next break, we're actually going to have a short roundtable with Bella and Karla talking about just design struggles and some of the mistakes people make and really how to get things set up the right way. So we'll be back with Success Mashup Radio.
Let's get it right before tonight.